Greetings, gamers! I'm Shootkapow. A new Pikmin 4 trailer recently dropped, and it showed us a lot about what the game holds for us. Even with all that information though, there's still a lot that we don't know. Sure, previous Pikmin types are on the box art, but are they in the base game or just challenge mode? We've seen enemies, both new and returning, but what else has been brought back and what's been cut? Who are the new captains? How game-changing is Oatchi gonna be? And how is night mode gonna work? I'm gonna give my thoughts and predictions on all these topics and more in this video. Before we start though, I'd like to very quickly remind you to like the video if you end up enjoying it, and comment down below with your thoughts for the game. First off, the ice Pikmin looks super cool. I'm very funny, please subscribe. Along with looking like if you put a rock Pikmin in a freezer, they can freeze enemies when they're eaten and freeze water so you can take other types of Pikmin across it. I want to say that no, blue Pikmin aren't going to be useless. Neither Ices nor Oatchi can carry things underwater, it looks like, and there are still enemies you need blues to take out. That being said, there is still a great deal you can do without blues in this game, and I'd be down to try a challenge run seeing how much I can do without them. I don't know how useful the ice Pikmin are going to be either, unless they have some kind of other powerful ability. Knowing what we know about them now, Deathless runners are probably not going to be using them a whole bunch, since half their abilities rely on them just dying. It's weird because in 2 and 3, the second types you got were super busted. Purples are purples, obviously, and rock Pikmin, while they're less talked about, are just as busted. Apparently the True Spice mod nerfed them into oblivion, which just goes to show how good they are if to make the game hard you have to make them useless against half the enemies in the game. Speaking of old types, every type except rock Pikmin and Bulbmin are on the game's box art. This hints that most types will be returning, along with some speculation and admittedly minimal evidence like a small pink blob in a few frames of the trailer that may or may not be the winged onion in a frame of what might be a purple pellet posy. If any previous type returns, the balancing on the game could very easily get out of hand. And it could definitely end up being super hard to manage your Pikmin if some sort of restriction isn't placed on the types you have. I had an idea a while back of potentially choosing up to 5 Pikmin types to have with you on any given day, allowing you to plan out certain days with specific paths in mind. I don't really know about that though, given that it probably hurt the game's main theme of exploration, and if you don't know what you're gonna need, it could hurt your efficiency. Personally, I'd most like to see purples and wings return, because they can be very useful for carrying back things efficiently and getting around the map. Reincorporating a less busted but still decent version of the purple stun ability could be interesting, but I'd probably leave it out. Bulbmin obviously have to return, especially now that caves are confirmed back. Whites and rocks could be interesting, but if I'm being honest, I kinda want to keep the older types a little more to the side to focus on newer ones. Keeping old types for later in the game, or maybe bringing back, say, wings as a secret sort of unlockable that isn't necessarily required for completion but lets you get more castaways, plural for the purpose of this video, or other secrets could be really cool. Coming back to the main area with more Pikmin types and having to go out of your way to solve a puzzle to unlock other types of Pikmin would be a super cool way to incorporate them and other types from previous games in Pikmin 4. Going off of the precedent set by Pikmin 2 and 3, we have one more new type to expect from the game. The community has come up with a lot of concepts over the years, but I'm going to talk about someone that I like to see personally. Orange Pikmin from Pikmin 251 are of course a big one. In Pikmin 251, a ROM hack of Pikmin 2 by PikHacker, if you guys want me to play it, then make sure to tell me in the comments. Orange Pikmin are found in caves like Bulbmin, are almost never used, and are immune to explosions. They're useful in a small handful of caves they're used in, but I feel like they could be capable of more. They have beady eyes and hard shells on their backs, which makes them explosion resistant. I can't believe I'm saying this, but these guys could be very useful if there are more explosion enemies in the game. Why not? Bring back the Dirigibugs, release the Groinks, heck, put the mana legs at the end of a cave. Give the orange Pikmin a use. And while we're at it, let's give them a fun secondary trait that could let them solve puzzles too. Let's add a packed, hard sort of dirt that only the oranges can dig through. This could not only let them get to places that others couldn't, but let you open up more of the map and create tunnels to get around faster. If rocks aren't in the main story, we could also give the oranges their crushing immunity to have a way to not get demolished by Wallyhops, because anything that makes those guys obsolete is great in my book. With night mode being a thing, I saw a concept on Twitter for some sort of bioluminescent Pikmin to help you get around and see, and it could maybe have some sort of calming glow to stop the enemies from rampaging. There are also ideas for stuff like metal Pikmin or ivy Pikmin that have been around for a while, and while climbing vines or magnetic walls might seem redundant with climbing walls being added, I personally think it's great. Especially with caves and upgrades from the bosses, it doesn't seem too far-fetched to make a wall of ivy that only a green Pikmin can climb, and the captain can't go up it until they get some upgrade from a cave. Heck, the green onion could even be at the top of that wall. The same could go for a metal Pikmin that can climb up magnetic walls, and you could even get an upgrade that lets you defy gravity on magnetic surfaces, Mario Kart 8 style. Next, it's time to talk about the caves. As someone who loved Pikmin 2, I'm really excited to see caves come back. Personally, I think it'd be nice if they revamped the system and made it less incredibly infuriating. Even with an explosion immune type of Pikmin, it'd be very nice to not have bombs constantly dropped on my head. I liked a lot about the caves in 2, and I hope they can make them even better in this game. If they manage to make them enjoyable for more people, that'd really help make the game great because they're such a cool concept. Oatchi is another thing I wanted to talk about here because he has a few notable abilities, either confirmed or implied. First, and most important, he can swim across water. This means it's probably going to be harder to walk off caves case like the submerged castle, but if it's some sort of unlockable ability like how the ride Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet work, that could lead to some interesting early and late game interactions. He can also jump, which could help you navigate areas easier, and charge up to break pots. In multiple instances in the trailer, we see that Oatchi has some sort of charge meter. When he charges up to break pots or even jumps, a little circle starts filling up. I think this means that Oatchi might be able to jump higher than we see in the trailer if you charge it up enough. He also can apparently sniff out treasures and castaways, which means he can be very useful for speedrunning if caves are still randomized. We also see the camera moving with him in the trailer, meaning that he could be remotely controllable, and he can of course carry things with a strength of 10, meaning he could help you out in that regard too. Overall, Oatchi has the potential to be game-changing, though how much is different because of him remains to be seen. A few enemies have been confirmed to return, those being the white spectralid, dwarf bulborb, the red bulborb, the fiery blowhog, the bulborb larva, and the empress bullblacks. The Snagret chicks and the new Arachnorb, along with whatever that thing is, are new enemies. There are a few more enemies I expect back, those being the beady longlegs and the burrowing Snagret of course, but also staples like the orange bulborb, spotty bulbear, and their dwarf variants, as well as the sheargrub family in its entirety, with the exception of maybe the swarming sheargrubs. The iridescent flint beetle, and maybe its counterparts from Pikmin 2, and probably either the cloaking bronit or the joustmite, or some kind of new similar enemy. I'd really like to see stuff like the breadbug or bulbman, and the whiptongue would be cool, but they'll probably ditch it for some other bulborb. If you guys want to see me make a tier list on which enemies are likely to return, make sure to like the video and let me know. Next, we have the topic of captains. I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on all the 4 new ones real quick. The lead captain looks alright, and I think they just took Alph's model and changed it up a bit, but she still doesn't look bad. The other unnamed character looks hilarious and I love him. His glasses are very silly, as is everything else about him. Shepard looks cool, and Colin's gotten a whole lot of hate on Twitter for looking really stupid. Personally, I think it'd be really cool if he was literally just a robot, which could give us another character in the same vein as the Hockaday ship. My question though is, are the old captains going to return? In the trailer, the castaway we see is wearing a blue suit. It doesn't look like the Hockaday freight suits, nor does it resemble what Alph wears, but it could still possibly be a character we already know. I think it'd be really cool if it was Louis, and there's been a lot of speculation on Twitter that it is. And he of course needs to be brought back again because he's been in every single game prior. It wouldn't make much sense for them to suddenly drop the whole storyline with Olimar, but then again, the man needs a break. He's been to that planet so many times by now he barely gets any time with his family. And I think it'd be nice if he just sat the majority of this one out and popped up as more of an Easter egg, or later in the game. Finally, we've once again left the topic of night mode for last. It looks super interesting, with not only piles of things that look like starbits, apparently they're supposed to be the Japanese candy the starbits are based on, but also things that look sort of like huts, which you could possibly hide in or something. I also saw a tweet a while back pointing out something in the back that looked like bulborb larvae, which would be awful if it was true because I couldn't handle more than maybe 2 encounters with those atrocious things per playthrough. There's not a lot that we know about night mode, but I think a way to incorporate it would be if you go back to your ship around evening, you could select an option to take out into the skies to skip through the night. If you don't do that, it automatically switches over to night mode and the game becomes much harder. It could be really cool and even have its own nocturnal breed of Pikmin like I mentioned earlier. Overall, I'm very optimistic about this game and looking forward to playing it with you guys. Those are my thoughts about Pikmin 4 so far, but if I missed anything you wanted to see me talk about, make sure to comment down below. It'd always be cool to see what you guys have to say, and I'll make sure to answer as many as I can. If you comment something cool I didn't mention, I might even bring it up in a future video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any future Pikmin videos I make. Also make sure to join my Discord server and follow me on Twitter, both in the description, to hang out with and talk to some more Pikmin fans. With all that said, this has been a fun video, but it's over now, so until next time, this is Shoot Kapow, over and out.